Hello, a very warm welcome to Happy Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Nadine and I'm coming to you from northern New South Wales in Australia, and I'm originally from Montreal, Canada. This is a knitting podcast, mainly about knitting and sometimes a little bit of crochet and sewing. However, today's episode I'm going to dedicate to my 7 favorite cardigans. We're getting into cardigan season here in Australia, kind of in between summer and winter. And yeah, I thought that I would talk about the 7 cardigans that I've made that I love the most, that I really love to wear over and over, and share them with you. Inspiration for this video came from my work in progress, which I showed last week, which is the number 2 of this cardigan that I knit. So this is the Corran Cardigan, knit by me, designed by Rebecca Clow of the Crea Bea. And I knit this in Holst Coast held double in the color navy. And yeah, I love this cardigan. I wear it a lot. I did mention last week though that I do feel it is a little bit small on me. Even holding this yarn double, I didn't quite reach gauge, and I'm not really a swatch maker. But yeah, so that's why this ended up being a little bit small. And I happen to have some Holst Coast in my very small stash that I bought when it was on sale, and I've combined 2 colors. May as well show you, I'm talking about it. I didn't plan on talking about it in this episode, but here it is. So I combined 2 colors together. They are Bourgogne, burgundy, and raspberry, which I've had in my stash for ages. I think I got this for $2 a ball or something like that. Anywho, that's my work in progress that kind of had me thinking all about cardigans again. I think I might have zipped the yarn. I'm gonna open that later because I don't want to cry on camera in case I rip the yarn. Not a big deal, I can just splice it back together, but yeah. So this cardigan, like I said, was a little bit small, so I've gone up needle size, which I talked about last week if you watched. Also, thank you so much if you're a new subscriber to my channel. I did get a lot of new subscribers last week, so welcome. Very happy to see you, and thank you so much to my returning viewers. I'm very happy to try to grow my little channel. Okay, oh yes, the dress that I'm wearing is the hinterland dress that I sewed, and I used a tablecloth from H&M that was a combination of linen and cotton, and it's the sleeveless one, no button placket, and with ties. I did the ties on this one, and I do love this dress. However, the color is not my favorite. I did wear it today because I thought with my cardigans, I took a little video of me wearing each of the cardigans, and I thought this dress was kind of like a good neutral to wear with all the cardigans, so you can see all the details on the cardigan. Especially because you'll notice that my color palette that I normally knit with is generally very dark. So yeah, I thought it would go well with it. But I am thinking about, maybe I'll make a video on this another day. I'm thinking about dyeing this. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of, linen dresses in kind of like a purpley burgundy kind of color, and I was kind of thinking of dyeing it. So yeah, stay tuned. I may have a video coming up of me attempting to dye this. Hopefully it works out. Okay, on to cardigans. So the first cardigan I want to talk about is the Felix cardigan. So the Felix cardigan is a design by Amy Christophers. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. And I've knit many of her patterns. I love her patterns. She's really a fantastic designer. You'll know her from like the pressed flowers and the new one with the star quilt. I forget what it's called. Yeah, so she's a great designer, and this is the Felix cardigan. There's also a pullover version of this, but I love cardigans, as I've talked about before. So yeah, this is number one. I knit this using Bendigo Woolen Mills. You'll see this yarn comes up a lot in my cardigans. I kind of went on a bit of a Bendigo Woolen Mills frenzy. This yarn is called the Rustic, so it is 100% wool and non-superwash. Congratulations, Bendigo Woolen Mills. They just finally brought back a non-superwash yarn onto their website. When this Rustic went off their site, they released another yarn called Woodlands, which I'll show you later. And then they didn't have a non-superwash for a very long time, but thankfully they've got a new one back called Tweed, which is like the rustic yarn with a little bit of neps, and it looks really, really, really nice. So I may have to buy some of that in the coming months to get ready for winter. Okay, so I love this cardigan. It's really, really, it's a basic, I would say. Like, I wear it all the time. It looks great over anything, over a dress. This one is quite cropped. This one is a little bit longer. Hope that's in frame. And it's just so cozy. It's got just this really simple lace pattern here, you know, just some yarn overs. When you do the increases, which I thought was very clever, and just gives it a little something that just takes it from being just, you know, very plain to, oh, a little bit of interest. So it knits up really quickly. This is a 12 ply Bendigo Woolen Mills Rustic 12 ply, which is, I think, between worsted and Aran, I would say. So yeah, it still confuses me. I've lived in Australia for 12 years, and they like to do their yarn in plies, but it doesn't imply, no pun intended, that it's literally 12 plies of yarn together. It's just that's how they decide the thickness. So I guess once upon a time there was a basic single ply, and then from there they held two together, 2 ply, 4 ply, and that's how they gauged the weight of the yarn. But yeah, I'm from Canada, so I would say this is between a worsted and an Aran weight. And yeah, so therefore it knits up super quickly, like I think less than a week, maybe just even a couple of days, and you've got a cardigan. The buttons that I chose are these wooden buttons. I got them on Etsy. I will put the shop up here hopefully, because I can't remember off the top of my head what her shop is called. They're wooden buttons. And oh yeah, I wanted to mention, I've seen this week Sarah from It Is a Sarah and Casey from Young Folk Knits had just coincidentally attaching buttons to their cardigans, and I noticed they both used thread. They used like a Gutermann sewing thread, and I was like, have I been attaching buttons wrong my whole knitting life? Because I always use wool. I usually use the same wool that I knit the cardigan in. Sometimes I'll use a slightly thinner wool if, yeah, I feel it's necessary for the buttonholes, like the size of the holes, but I only use wool. Anyone else out there just use wool to sew their buttons, or do you use thread? Is there a benefit to using thread that I don't know about? Yeah, let me know in the comments if you use wool or if you use thread to attach your buttons. Okay, so that's cardigan number one. As I mentioned last week, I'm kind of in allergy season at the moment. Yeah, the jasmine is blooming, and I'm not sure if I'm allergic to jasmine, but we certainly don't have jasmine in Canada, and I have really bad allergies here in Australia, so I kind of feel like jasmine may be the culprit, because as I just took my dog for a walk, and I could really smell the jasmine. And yeah, these have been up in my cupboard for a couple of months, and I just took them out. I tried to hang them outside and shake them out, but they could be a little bit dusty and causing me to be a little bit allergic. So if my voice sounds a bit raspy, you'll know why. Okay, but I digress. Cardigan number two, I have the 3-season cardigan. So the 3-season cardigan designed by Wool and Pine. So I knit this last year. It might have been when I first started doing my podcast. I started knitting this, And I was really craving a cardigan but with cables, and I knit this and probably cast it off just as the book club cardigan by Sarah Nordling came out, and I was like, oh, if I would have known, I would have totally knit that instead, but I just finished this one. But I'm very, very happy with this cardigan. It's beautiful. So I'll just show it to you. Again, I used Bendigo Woolen Mills, this time in an 8-ply. I think the color is Forest. And the same buttons, yeah, exact same buttons as I used on the last one. And it is a combination of cable knitting and lace. So I guess that's why they call it the 3-season cardigan, meaning you could wear it, you know, for 3 seasons because it's got the lace, I guess. And oh yeah, and also I knit it in wool, whereas I think the original pattern was knit in a cotton or something a little bit more summery. But anyways, this is perfect for here in Australia. It's a cropped cardigan, so it looks great over dresses. And like I said, it's got the lace, and I think the original cardigan, people were saying that the sleeves were quite small, which yeah, I think is also an issue with the book club cardigan, coincidentally. So knowing that, I did not do any decreases in my sleeve, and I also, oh no, sorry, I did do a very slight decrease, but I added a panel here of one of the columns from the back. So yeah, I added that just to make the sleeves a little bit bigger, and I'm pleased that I did that because it fits great. It's got beautiful, beautiful cables, and it's knit in pieces, I think, the back up, and then each side up, and then you seam it on the sides, and then pick up for the sleeves, and then knit the sleeves down. I had not knit cables in a really long time, and I think I'd only done very basic cables because when I started knitting, again, if you're not familiar with my channel, you'll know that I learned to knit pretty much by myself before there was YouTube. I didn't really know anyone who knit, so I kind of had to learn it all on my own. So I tried to knit a cabled sweater for my mom and just gave up. There was no chart, and I just felt like I was like, knit 2, purl 1, and just each line was written out, and I was just so overwhelmed. And then I saw that I made a mistake, and I was just like, ah, you know, now I know if you make a mistake in your cables, you can literally just go back down in that little couple of rows and then fix it, and then yeah, no need to rip the whole thing out, but I did not know that at the time. Anyway, so this is the first major cabled garment that I've made, and it was so much fun. I really loved doing it. The cables were so engaging, and yeah, I would highly recommend this pattern. It's super cute. Yeah, so it's a little bit different in that it's cropped, and yeah, I still do want to knit the book club cardigan. I'm going to talk about that later. Okay, the third cardigan is the Step-by-Step Cardigan by Florence Miller. I think she's handmade by Florence, and this is a free pattern, and it's also a cropped cardigan, and the wool I used is Bendigo Woolen Mills, but the Woodlands. So I mentioned before that last winter they released a yarn that was non-superwash. It was called Woodlands, and it was mostly wool with a little bit of, I want to say alpaca, and then it has neps in it. So I'll hold it up close. I'm not sure if you can see, but it's got these little kind of brown neps, and the color is like kind of like a black and a gray held together or applied together, and then it's got these brown neps. And like I said, this is a free pattern, and not only that, she has amazing YouTube tutorials. If you're a beginner knitter, this is definitely, I would highly recommend this. It's a very easy, very basic, and she teaches you how to do a double knit button band. Again, step-by-step videos, really, really excellent. And yeah, the buttons I used were again by the same lady on Etsy, but a smaller button. I just felt that that was the right size for this. Again, I used the yarn to sew the buttons on. And I think that's all I have to say about this one. Really lovely fit, really comfy. And yeah, I highly recommend that pattern. Okay, moving on to number 4. I have the Sunday Cardigan by Petite Knits. Okay, this one I knit at the end of our winter last year, and I used a wool that I got on Facebook Marketplace, and it was called Fontana Homespin, and it is a wool from New Zealand that's I'm afraid does not exist anymore, but it was unspun, and it was a bulky unspun, which I've never seen before. I've never knit with Nudidin or Plutelope Mancholope, but I did find this on Marketplace and I snatched it up, and I'm really pleased I did. It's very, very, very light. The Sunday Cardigan is a bulky weight pattern, and it just has these really cool 3x3 ribbing, and just in the yoke where you do your increases, it's got a folded over collar, and I did not sew any buttons on it. I may do so. I don't know, I could even put a zipper in there, but I feel like I mostly wear my cardigans open. I know I'm wearing this one closed, but yeah. Like I said, it doesn't really get super cold here in Australia, so buttons not really necessary, but I could add buttons, and I could even use that afterthought buttons. If you look that up on YouTube, there's a really cool technique where you can add buttonholes after, like if you, yeah, anyway, if you think of it after afterthought, you can add buttonholes, so I may do that. And oh yeah, I think I did something different with the button band here. I can't remember right now, but if you go back and watch my episode where I talk about this sweater in more details, you can see what I did there, something different, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm very pleased with it. Like I said, it's very light. And oh, I forgot to mention, I did hold that yarn together with whole Titicaca, which is an alpaca lace. No silk in it, and it's not suri, it's just alpaca, and it's just very, very fine, just to give a little bit more strength to this unspun. You can't even really see it, but gosh, I really can't see it. But yeah, it's in there in another kind of brown, and I think it was a bit darker than this wool was, so it kind of gave it a little bit more depth. Okay, the sixth cardigan I'm going to talk about is the one that has crochet in it. So this is a combination of crochet and knitting. This pattern is again by Amy Christophers, who, yeah, I think her name might be Savory Knitting. I hope that's right. So Amy Christophers, and it is basically granny squares that you sew together in diamonds. So you sew them together in the way that she tells you to, and then you pick up around here and you knit a button band. I suppose if you were just a crocheter, not a knitter, there is a way to kind of make crochet look a little bit like knitting, so you could do that. And then you also knit some cuffs. And this is also done in Bendigo Woolen Mills Rustic 8-ply. 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, I went to visit our family in Victoria, my husband's family, and we've got to go to Bendigo Woolen Mills, and I bought the yarn there. So a lot of memories captured into this, and yeah, I'm very pleased with it. It's very big, it's quite oversized, and I was inspired by It Is a Sarah's podcast, and she's made quite a few of these, and hers is actually much more fitted, like kind of more like this cardigan. But I guess it really depends on how big you make your granny squares and what your gauge and your yarn and all that is. But yeah, I'm quite happy with it being oversized. Sometimes you want a nice, cozy, big, oversized cardigan. And I did follow the same thing that Sarah did. I think in the pattern, it kind of goes like that. And I did what Sarah did, and I just removed that extra granny square, which gives it kind of a different shape. Anything else? Oh, the buttons, again, are by that same. All my buttons are from that same Etsy shop, but also in the smaller one, and they might even be a bit darker. Yeah, I'm very pleased with this. It was actually super fun to make. Putting it together was a little bit confusing. She has instructions. Oh, it's also a free pattern, I believe. Another free pattern. She has instructions on how to assemble it, and yeah, you kind of, I think at one point on my second sleeve, my sleeve was sticking straight up, so I had to undo. I had to undo a bit, and I did connect them all together at the very end. So yeah, that was quite funny, but I just undid it and figured it out and got there in the end. Okay, we're at number 7, the last one. Favorite cardigan that I've made is the November jacket, and I would say this is very jackety. It's very warm. I used an unspun wool from Canada, from Custom Woolen Mills, which is, I believe, in Alberta, and I bought it at Stash Lounge when I went to see my mom 2 years ago. And it's actually an unspun yarn. It comes in this massive cake, and it's actually 3 strands together. So I did not hold, 6 strands together, and I did not hold the 6 strands together. Instead, I painstakingly took apart all 6 strands and wound each one up into a ball. Pulled, 3 rounds off, wound up the 6 balls, pulled another 3 times around off, wound up the 6 balls, and yeah, so that I held it single. And I held that yarn with, again, I held it with an alpaca lace that I think I got at Hobby, Hobii, that company from, I think, Denmark. So I think I had some of theirs in a gray. So I held it together with this color, which was kind of like a gray brown. So I thought if I held it with that alpaca, it would darken the color, which it did, and give it a bit more strength, because this is a single strand of an unspun yarn. So I thought it would give it more strength. And this sucker is very, very warm. Would I use this yarn in hindsight? Am I happy with my yarn choice? Not really. It's very pilly. It pills like crazy. I haven't really gone over it with a depiller, but maybe it'll stop pilling at some point. I'm not really sure. I'm hoping that's the case. The reason I'm not super happy with the yarn that I chose is this is entirely knit in brio stitch and also double knitting. So both of those things are just very time consuming, and yeah, it's just a lot of knitting. And in this yarn, I don't really feel like you can tell. I don't feel like you can see the beauty of the brioche. I feel like it kind of got a bit muddled. So yeah, but other than that, it's very, very cozy on like the coldest days here. When I take the dog for a walk in the morning or in the evenings, this is perfect to throw on. Also, it has, or I did not put any buttons on, but it doesn't really need it, and I find it's got pockets. Oh yeah, and the pocket was, I saw another knitter on Ravelry had said they use that for their gauge swatch, and that was a brilliant idea. The pockets are amazing. When your hands are cold, you can pop them into the pockets. And yeah, just overall, it's very, very cozy. I would highly recommend this pattern. I would not recommend knitting it in an unspun yarn. Okay, those are all of my favorite cardigans that I've knit. And I just thought, yeah, I think I have time. I'll just mention some cardigans that I would like to knit this year. Okay, the Book Club cardigan by Sari Nordland, which I mentioned earlier, just because I had so much fun making the 3-season cardigan with cables, and her cardigan, Book Club cardigan, looks amazing. I know many people have knit it, and it's also a different shape. It's more oversized, so I think it would be nice to have a different style. I'm not sure what color I would knit it in. I'm gonna try to not knit in dark gray anymore, even though I did buy in Canada some dark gray yarn to knit the Asenia cardigan by Anna Sosfard. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that horribly. So I bought that pattern when I was visiting my mom in Canada for Christmas this year. I bought a yarn from Briggs & Little, a very rustic yarn, and I bought that pattern, and I do want to knit that, and so that's going to be a dark gray cardigan. So yeah, I don't know. Book Club cardigan, I think it does look nicer in lighter colors. However, I'm not too sure if light colors is really, I prefer dark colors for my complexion. So I don't know. Do you have any recommendations? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, also I just saw, like literally today, I was on Instagram, and in my search I saw the Fresno cardigan chunky, and it's currently in testing by, I've never heard of that designer before, but it's an all over cabled cardigan, just very basic. It looks like a braid, which if you remember my Christmas episodes, I made that for a Christmas present for somebody, a hat, and even I made matching mittens with a braided cable, and I had a lot of fun making that, so I thought that it would be very pretty. And Ballon by Emily Green, that's another cardigan that I just saw on So Liberated, the designer of the Hinterland dress. A lady who works there, they posted it on their Instagram. I'm really sorry, I can't remember her name. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'll put a picture of her here, and she was wearing it. She works at So Liberated. She was wearing it over a dress, and it was a beautiful cardigan. It's, again, cables, and it's an old pattern because I looked it up. I think it's about 3 years old, but wow, did it look stunning. And I really liked it in the color that she had it, which is kind of like a light beige, which again, not really my color, but I think I could get away with just like a white, like a bright white. I think white is kind of more in my color palette. So yeah, I'm thinking of maybe knitting that as well. However, it is a lot of yarn. So yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, it might also look nice in that new yarn by Bendigo Wool at Mills because it has the neps in it, and there was one that's kind of like a really light gray, and it had the neps in them were kind of rainbow color. That could be really nice. Yeah, and oh yeah, they also, it's 8, 10, and 12 ply in their new yarn, so definitely I think I could find it. Okay, so cardigans, why they're amazing. They're great for in between seasons. You can do them up if it's a bit chilly, undo them if it's, if you're getting a little bit warm, take it right off, and obviously you're wearing something underneath, not like a sweater which you might just have on over your bra. You're usually wearing a cardigan. I think most people will be wearing a cardigan over something else, so if you get really warm, you can just take it right off. If you get chilly again, pop it back on. So yeah, I think that's why cardigans are super, super handy and amazing to have in your wardrobe. And obviously, I feel like you can't have enough in your wardrobe. Yeah, and I just really feel like they look amazing over dresses. Very, very pretty. And yeah, I prefer it to pullovers, because pullovers, I feel, in my climate that, you know, it's really cold in the morning and the evenings, but in the day it just gets so warm that, yeah, just cardigans are just so much easier. Okay, that's all I have to talk about today for cardigans. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And drop me a comment below telling me where you're watching from. And I hope that you get to make something beautiful with your hands this week. I really look forward to making another video next week. It will be a regular podcast, and I will be wearing my newly finished object, spoiler alert, the Alpine Bloom. I've casted it off, sewn in my ends. I just have to block it, and yeah, that'll be ready for next week. And just please enjoy this video of me taking my dog for a walk. I'll see you next time. Thanks again.